What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a how-to over what is probably the most well-known and most used fishing reel in all of the bass industry, that is the baitcasting reel. This reel has proven itself over and over and over again, and more people every day are wanting to learn more about this reel and are wanting to learn how to use it. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing just that for you guys. This is Passion Bassin, let's get into it. Today's video is going to be split into 3 different sections, which I'll be putting all in the description. First section is going to be me going over all the different parts and components of the reel and how they affect it. Second section, I'm going to be teaching you how to properly tune the reel for it to be most effective, especially for a beginner. And then in the third and final section, I'm going to be teaching you how to properly cast with this reel for it to be most effective again. So let's real quickly go ahead and go over some of the different parts of this reel and how they affect it. I will be putting a list on the screen as well of the different parts. So the first part I want to go over is the spool tensioner knob. This knob basically just controls the spool. I know that sounds stupid, but it really is all it does. It really just controls how much the spool is allowed to spin. The tighter the knob is, the less your spool is allowed to spin, which means the less your lure is allowed to move. The more loose or less tight the knob is, the more your spool is allowed to move, which means the more your lure is allowed to move. Or I guess the more your spool is allowed to spin. Really all there is to that one, there really isn't much. So then the next component is going to be that magnetic braking system. Some reels use a centrifugal braking system. I've never used one, so I really can't say how good it is compared to a magnetic braking system. All I know is this one uses that one, and all I've ever used is magnetic. Basically the way this works though, is that this magnetic braking system has different settings on it. All it does is that it controls the speed, or basically how fast or how slow the spool is allowed to spin. So the tighter or the higher this magnetic is set on, the slower your spool is going to spin, the slower the speed is going to be, and then the lower the setting is, the faster the speed is going to be. And obviously with this one, like I said, tighter it is, the less your spool is going to be allowed to spin. The more loose it is, the more your spool is going to be allowed to spin. The next piece is the drag. I'm not really going to go over it a whole lot because there's really not much to it. I just want to point out so I can say I did. But again, there's not really much to it. Most anglers don't even really use the drag, they just use their thumb. So whether you're beginner or expert, I wouldn't really even worry about the drag, just leave it alone. Really doesn't do much at all. And then so the last piece I'm gonna go over is the bail. The bail knob or bail lever, whatever it is. This little knob right here, the camera focus, that little knob right there. I really don't know what the name of it is. Bail button, lever, whatever, I don't really know. The simplest thing that's on here. Literally, it's just used to click the bail over. So if you want to cast, you just click it over, get your cast. Once you get in the water and you're good, click the handle over, it clicks the lever back into place, and you're good to go. That's all that thing does. So those are the different pieces. Obviously, each reel is going to be a little bit different on how it's set up sometimes. I have about 4 different reels of my own. They're all baitcasting, so they're really not that much different than this one because this one's casting. But depending on what company you go with, some of their stuff's different. Because I know that sometimes the magnetic braking system isn't always set up like this, or sometimes the braking in general isn't always set up like this. Because I know with centrifugal braking, unlike magnetic braking right here where it's on the outside, with centrifugal braking, it's on the inside. So you have to actually take the thing off, flip it over, and on the other side of it is where you actually control the braking system. I don't know how effective it is, again, because I've never used it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you or be able to say. Some reels are going to be set up differently. The only thing I think that's going to be most different about certain reels is how the braking system is set up. Even with magnetics, some of the magnetic braking systems are set up differently. Like some systems obviously are going to have more settings than others, but that's pretty much it with that. So now let's move on to how to properly tune it. Alright, so the way you're going to want to properly tune this, especially for a beginner, so what you're going to start off with doing is, obviously in a situation like this, you're going to want to have it rigged up with a pole and a lure. I don't have it right now because it's not best for the situation I'm in. First, going to want to make sure everything's at the highest setting that's fully tight. You want to make sure your magnetic is at the highest setting it can be, and you want to make sure your spool tensioner knob is the tightest it can be. So when you click the bail, nothing moves. Now what you want to start with doing first is you want to start with loosening your spool tensioner knob until the lure starts to just barely fall, and then you want to loosen it just enough to where your lure is falling at about a foot per second. Some guys will tell you that's the best method to set it up to a foot per second. Some guys will tell you another method of loosen your tension knob all the way and then tighten it to where your spool is isn't shaking back and forth. I've used both ways and they're both effective. I personally think that the method of foot per second is probably a lot better for beginners because it keeps it all a lot tighter than the other method. But whatever you feel most comfortable with, whatever you feel like doing, that's your choice. Go for it, really doesn't matter. And then for your braking system, so once your spool tensioner knob is set, now move on to the braking system. For this one, make sure to set up max first to make it cast out there. Obviously it's not going to move, so you're going to want to loosen it up a little bit, loosen it like 3 clicks. Cast out there, see how it is. If it's still too tight, loosen up a little bit more, make some more casts out there. If it's too loose, tighten it back up. It's basically wherever you feel comfortable. You're basically gonna want to have it set at the setting of where you can cast it out there, not even touch the spool, and have it land, have the lure hit the water, hit the ground without a single bird's nest or backlash, and not having to touch the spool at all. Once you're at that point, you're good. As a beginner, that's where you want it to be. I would suggest that because it's going to be the easiest for you. And then that's really all there is to tuning this thing. So now I'm going to show a clip I did earlier of how to properly cast with a bait casting reel. I'm sorry if this next clip's a little bit back. Hopefully this clip will help you out. Alright, so when it comes to casting with a bait caster reel, first thing I want to say is your thumb is going to become your best friend. You're going to be using it a lot, and without it, you're not really going to make a good cast at all. First thing you want to do is you want to take your thumb. You want to click down the bail. Click that little button, you're going to click down the bail so now the spool can spin when you cast it out. Next thing you want to do is simply just make a cast. I mean, I know as a beginner it's not that simple, but simply just make a cast. Okay? Cast out there, and then you want to use your thumb to stop that spool. Obviously, as a beginner, you're going to want to tighten your spool all the way down. You want to tighten your spool tensioner knob all the way down to where your lure barely moves. Not even use your thumb, and you're not going to get a backlash. Rather, you loosen it up, couldn't speak there. If you loosen it up, rather too much loosen it up, even in your cast. This one might not do it, but you're going to see, you're going to clearly get a backlash. You don't want that. So make sure that spool tensioner knob is nice and tight, especially as a beginner. And obviously, as well, like, practicing just a little bit a day, the skill will become very easy, and it'll be almost like a second nature skill. Just as a quick recap, take your thumb, you want to click over the spool or click over the bail or whatever you want to call it. Make just a nice simple cast out there, and then use your thumb and stop that spool. It's that simple, pretty easy. Alright y'all, I hope that video was helpful. I hope I went into enough detail. If the video was helpful, hit that like and subscribe button. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.